Well, all right. So David Carroll is a member of the Rotary Club of Cleveland. And you've heard us over the past year talk about Cleveland because they are the third largest club, sometimes the second, depending on the week with us. So that's why we're pushing membership this year. But right now they are the third, right behind us by a member or two. David's been actively involved in Rotary since 1989. He served as club president 2001 to 2002. And he's a graduate of the District Leadership Academy. And he now serves on that faculty that helps other DLA applicants. David's leadership within the District 6780 includes assistant governor, district secretary, district foundation chair, and now district governor for 2025-26. David's service and commitment have been recognized with the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service and District 6780 Interact Eagle Award. As a supporter of the Rotary Foundation, David is that's Rotary International Foundation, not ours. David is a major donor and a member of the Bequest Society, or Bequest. Native of Bradley County, David is a graduate of our own University of Tennessee, Knoxville branch, thank you, and works in the real estate and auction profession. David's son, Jerome, attends Lee University in Cleveland. Let's give a warm Rotary Club of Knoxville welcome to David Carroll, District Governor.
Thank you. You know, I visited your club with Rob this past year several times, and before that, anytime that I was actually here visiting Knoxville, it was usually because I was chairing the grants committee, and I was usually delivering checks, which was always a great time. You know, there's so many people that I've been connected with in this club through my Rotary journey. One is Frank. I served under Frank when he was district governor in some capacity with the Rotary Foundation. And then Matt Robertson is originally from my club, and I know when he was leaving to come to Knoxville, I just couldn't send Frank a message fast enough. I said, you need to grab him up. He was one of our best members, and I haven't seen him in a long time, so it's really good to see him. But you know, there's a lot of good things going on in Rotary, and your club is really doing a good job, and I want to thank you for that. So what I've got to say today is just to kind of as an encouragement that we can all improve, we can all do things a little better, because we are trying to grow. And we just got back from Calgary at the International Convention, and I think your club had the largest delegation in our district. I was there and I got to participate in your installation of Shannon. And Chris, you did a wonderful job. Where is Chris? Chris, thank you. I'm used to seeing you up here. Chris did a wonderful job this past year in leading this club, and we're hoping that he'll continue moving up on district positions, and we're going to help him keep him involved. And hopefully, I was meeting with your board a little earlier, and we'd love to see some more leadership come out of this club. This club's always had great leadership in our district. Shannon, congratulations, and you're going to do a wonderful job. One of my favorite people that I felt like was one of my mentors was from your club was John Bailey. I worked with John under the Rotary Foundation for years, and what a gentleman, Southern gentleman, and I miss John, but I learned a lot from John. What a class act. And Town's the same thing. We've worked together on the foundation committee, and I could just continue naming names, but like I said, you've had some great leadership. So I wanted to talk a little bit in this presentation today. Go ahead and advance the first slide, please. And just talk to you a little bit about some dates coming up and some, I was visiting the Chattanooga Breakfast Club, and I told them the other day, I said, this is my 7th club. And Jim Roxlow said, David, this is what you're going to look like after this. No slam on our international president, but we do have a new international president, Francesco Arenzo. And I think he's going to do a wonderful job. We had a chance to hear him at the International Convention. You know, he came into this position a little late in the game, but he's prepared. He had applied for the job, or I think an interview for the job once before. And he's well respected, and everybody really likes him. and I think he's gonna do a wonderful job, and he had a really nice presentation at the International Convention. And he really wanted to focus on three things: membership, foundation, and peace. And think about all three of those, you're doing a really good job within your club. But like I said, we can always grow and continue doing things a little bit better. Some dates I wanted to talk to you about. Next year's Rotary International Convention is gonna be in Taipei. And I'm sure your club is gonna be on top of that, June the 13th through the 17th. And then it was, announced that we're going to, Dubai after that. You know, we were originally going to Hawaii. That didn't work out, so we're going to Dubai, and that'll be, looks like we've got 2 really good years to think about on wonderful vacations and trips if you want to go to the International Convention and learn. How many people have been to a Rotary International Convention? It's a nice experience, isn't it? Whether you go abroad or in the United States, you learn a lot. Mid-South Pets, I know that you guys have already got your leadership lined up, and we'll be in Chattanooga. And so you'll see the dates on that. So that's President-elect training. And a few years ago, we started training the nominees. So this continues giving us that continuity from president of the club, president nominee, president-elect, all this work together like we do on the district level. It's the continuity and the consistency that we're trying to put together like we do on the district level, doing that on the club level. So we're trying to do that. And then the district conference this year will be in Cleveland. We haven't had a district conference in Cleveland since 1964. So I was looking at doing it in Chattanooga, and my club says, David, I think Cleveland's large enough now that we can really host a nice convention. And there's 3 clubs in Cleveland, and we're going to do a wonderful job. Now, we'll hope to get some great support from you as we move on to that next day. As you can see, Unite for Good, that's okay, leave it right there. Unite for Good is our theme for this year, and it probably will be our theme for another few years. And it's a wonderful, when I first heard it, I didn't know if I liked it as much as some of the themes that we've been using. But the more I think about it, I really liked it. I love the magic of Rotary, but I think it's going to be a good thing for us to build off for the next few years. Next slide, please. So I know that when Rob was here last year, that he talked a lot about the Rotary Action Plan. Do you remember him, some talk about the Rotary Action Plan? I said this in Chattanooga, nobody raised their hand but 2 people, and I told Rob, I said, your message, Rob said, you don't have to worry about it. He said, David, just touch on it. He said, everybody knows what the Rotary Action Plan is. So I told him, I said, you're gonna have to go back to Chattanooga and give them some more instruction. But there's actually 4 areas that I wanted to go over. And then I want to talk about some of my favorite feel-good things that I think were good projects in our district. And the importance of talking about is spreading our word and giving our Rotary stories. So think about this phrase right here, or this statement. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the world, across the globe, in our community, and in ourselves. That says a lot, and that's what the action plan is based on. And I want to go over these 4 areas, and the first one is increasing our impact. We want to put our resources behind programs that will have the greatest impact and align with the areas of focus. So when I think about this, I think of partnerships. Think about the partnerships that your club is partnered with the last few years or in the past. It's all about partnerships and how we can expand on what we're doing. When I think of partnerships, I think of Habitat for Humanity. I think of the Children's Nutrition Fund that's based out of Chattanooga. Organizations, water organizations like Waters of South Sudan. I think of one organization that's very important to you, that is Orbit. What a great organization. STAR, that's a therapeutic horseback riding organization. Sleep and Heavenly Peace. How many people are familiar with Sleep and Heavenly Peace? That's something that I was just familiar with a few years ago, but what a great organization. And all these organizations, this is just a few of them some of our clubs are working with, but they can keep us from having to recreate the wheel because they've already got a base. All they need is some volunteer work and a little money to help them along the way. Next slide. We want to expand our reach. We are inclusive, engaging, compassionate, and ambitious on behalf of the world. And I think of membership, which is so important to us. Rotary wants us to not only bring in new members, but what can we do to keep the members that we're bringing in? We bring in a lot of members, but we lose about the same. Some of them are for different reasons, but we do lose a lot of members. And if we can retain those members, we'll see our district continue to grow in our Rotary world. Our district is fortunate. We have roughly about 3,000 members, and we had an increase last year. You go around in a lot of areas in our zone, and a lot of those districts have gone down a lot. So we've got a lot of good things going on in our district. But for membership, I would like for us to kind of think out of the box. We're always looking for ways to attract younger members. How many times have we heard that? The statistics show that younger people are looking for leadership training. And I mentioned this in the meeting before this. Think about all the great leadership that we have in this room. And if we had younger members, you could mentor some younger people and give them jobs in the club, give them a little experience. And what a great opportunity for young professionals. When's the last time that you reviewed your classification list? You know, that's an old term that we don't hear as much anymore, but classification. Have you looked at all the different vocations that you have in your club? That might be a good chance just to look at that list. And you can find the list, any list on the Rotary, you can Google it, or the Rotary International has a list that you can find. And just look to see what your vocations are. Are you balanced out? Are there vocations that you could be, classifications that you could be adding? It's a good way just to look and see where you are. Are you welcoming the guest? And I think you do a good job of that. Do you welcome people from all cultures and backgrounds? Does your community reflect does your membership reflect your community? I know in my club, we're looking at that right now. We have a large Hispanic community, and we're looking at what we can do to, for our club to represent our community. Do our members know that we care about them? I think this is a really good opportunity. When you miss someone for a few weeks, give them a call. You might already have something set up in your club to do that, but everybody likes a phone call or somebody to double check with them. Makes you feel good when someone cares about you. Think about some of the members in your club that maybe are having problems getting to your club meeting. Maybe need a ride, that are not driving anymore, but still have an interest in wanting to come to Rotary. These are some things that I think that we need to think about when we're talking about membership. Slide. Engage. Enhance participant engagement. We're tearing down walls between us and them and focusing on our participants. We're asking people how they want to participate, finding ways to meet them where they are, and making sure they know we value them. Are we engaging our members in our projects? Think about all the projects that you have going on in your club. Are we engaging all the different members? Are we asking members to participate? I know most clubs put a sign-up list on the table. We found out in our club that just doesn't help. Nobody will sign. A lot of times people don't sign up. But an individual personal invitation, be part of a work day or something that you're doing in your club. It's not only a way to get them involved, but it's a way to get to know that person a little bit better. Promote fellowship. And I heard in your meeting before that you're promoting fellowship and have some good things coming up in the future. But it's always good to figure out how we can do to get to know our members better. Think about the reason why you joined Rotary. And I think it's a good opportunity to think about why you joined Rotary and how we can spread that word to others to join the organization that we're part of. Next slide. This is the fourth part of the Rotary Action Plan, and this is one of the hardest I think it is for clubs. But it's also a great opportunity, and I love this part because it gives us a chance to look at the way we're doing what we're doing. And are we doing what we need to be doing, or can we do it a little different to make it better? So notice that I didn't use the word, even though they use the word change. I like the word adapt better than change. We seek new perspective and new ideas that can strengthen Rotary and create lasting change. Are we willing to adapt, to grow? We can't continue to always do things the way we did them 25 years ago when I first joined Rotary, or even longer than that. I joined in '89, because things have changed. We need to continue adapting. I know a lot of clubs are bringing in so many new members, younger members that have families. I remember when I had an adopted son from the Philippines, and when I first adopted my son, I realized there is a difference in having socials for families and socials for adults. Because you have to have something to make those children have a good time. So now I see a lot of clubs that are having functions for families where they have a lot of games and a lot of things for kids. And then some socials that are mainly just for adults, more of a social event, cocktail parties, things that people want to do, is more social for all of us that maybe want to break from our families occasionally and need a little bit of break. I know on the district level, we're having to adapt because people's lives are changing. People are busier than they used to be. I know we had a district training Zoom committee training meeting not long ago. And we always have had things, if you've been in any kind of training in Crossville, that seems to be the middle of our district. We found out that people don't like driving an hour and a half to go to Crossville on a Saturday morning and spend 2 hours at a meeting and turn right around and drive home when they've missed their children's ball game or doing something with their family. So when we were at President-elect training, we polled the President-elects and asked them what they want, if they would like to do it a little different. And so we tried it different this year. We did it by Zoom, and then we had breakout sessions for every committee. And for our first one, it was a great success. Last year, we had 68 people that came in person. This year, we had 107 people that signed up and did it on Zoom. And the comments were really good. And I think we'll continue trying to do more of that. There's a place for in-person training, and I think there's a place for maybe changing it a little bit. Rotary Leadership Institute. Have you been to Rotary Leadership Institute? Several people have. I want to encourage you to take advantage of that. So now, the same situation, you don't have to drive to Crossville on a Saturday. We're bringing that to your area. You heard that mentioned just a few minutes ago. It's going to be in Pellissippi. Then we're gonna have it in the Chattanooga, Cleveland area, and it's gonna move around the district for different days. You can go to any one that works for you. But we're trying to bring those training ideas back to the areas. And the participation has been incredible. Where we've had 30 or 40 one Saturday, we're having 40 and 50 at each one of these now, and more people are getting trained. It's all about training, learning about the organization that you're part of. The Rotary Road Show, you've heard Rob talk about that when he was here, but we'll bring different topics to your club: foundation, membership, youth services, peace and conflict resolution. And all those things we can bring right here to your club. You don't have to have us for a meeting. You can have us for a board meeting. You can have us for a committee meeting, anything that works for you. If you're having something that is a social to try to bring membership in, invite us all and maybe we can help just support that. And it helps support the good word of Rotary. Are you surveying your members? That's a good way to find out what your members like. Do they like the programs you're having? Do they like the meeting place? Do they like the food? You better have kind of broad shoulders when you start surveying the people in your club, because sometimes people are pretty honest with you, but that's what you want, because that's the reason why they come to your meeting. The next part of this that I want to talk about is some of the ways that I think that we can tell what the story and how it's impacted you. I think about my background is the Rotary Foundation, so I think that's truly the heartbeat of what we do in Rotary. That's where we can really grow, and we're learning how to do things and help other people. That's what we're doing as a service club. But every project in the Rotary world has to meet one of these focus areas. And it's peace and conflict resolution, which you did that a few months ago, that you're promoting peace in your community. Disease and prevention, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, community development, and the environment. Think about all the projects that you do. And they had to meet one of those if they got a grant, and your club's doing a wonderful job with it. The next few slides, I just want to talk about some projects in our district and how I felt affected when I first heard about some of these programs. This therapeutic academy for horseback riding, I know a lot of people in the community, I know it's right here in your area and it's in my community too, but a lot of clubs started volunteering and working with this organization. And it's a wonderful organization. A lot of autistic children have got some great results from this. And I remember when I first read some of the results from this in the Menville Breakfast Club, they said that this one little girl had never made eye contact with her parents. And after she started this therapeutic horseback riding, she started opening up and having more eye communication and having more some verbal communication. Her parents were so excited that they went out and bought a horse. They just thought that was the whole deal. And you can't do that. You can't do that because that's part of the program. But it's a wonderful organization, and this is a cooperating organization that I think a lot of clubs have taken advantage of. I have this project up because it's the waters of the water project from South Sudan. This is the Loudoun County clubs, Loudoun and Lenore City. And I put this project up there to tell you that never think small. And I know your club is doing a great job. In fact, the last grant you put in, we didn't have enough money to support it for Orbit, but hopefully that money will come in as the year goes on. But you know, there's some small clubs that even you're a small club, these smaller clubs in our district, you can still think big. They came with us with a project and they said, we want to put a water well in South Sudan. We have a desire to do this, but we have no travelers and we're going to have to raise the money. And could we get a grant for it? So our committee met with them several times and we were trying to figure out what would be their participation. How could they stay involved? Because participation is part of the program. So they decided, there was a little book, and it was written by the fellow that started this Waters of South Sudan, a nonprofit, and it was called Walk to Water. And if you're familiar, like it against in some countries like Kenya and other places, that water is so important. But these children can't go to school because they've got to walk and bring water back to their families every day. So they went to the school system, they bought, I don't know how many hundreds of this book, and they tried to bring the awareness in the school system of how children were having to cope in other countries. So these middle schoolers started raising money, they had armbands made, became a big project. We called the Rotary Foundation, they said, we'd love to work with the Waters of South Sudan. They didn't know where that they were gonna have the well put in, but they finally selected the location. And they had the well put in, and the children from the school systems in Loudoun County, back then were Skyping with the children in South Sudan. And this picture right here shows the children now can go to school and they got their uniforms on and they have clean water in their community. And those are small clubs thinking out of the box. I love that project. Okay. Sleep in Heavenly Peace. The first time I heard about this partnership, I guess I did think about it. A lot of people are in poverty, but there are a lot of children that are sleeping on the floor. And I love their motto, no kid sleeps on the floor in our town. This has been a contagious project, and I know that a lot of clubs are doing it. And this organization already has it all planned out. They know the system. You build the beds, and I know you have that right here in your own area, and it's a great organization. This is a project that I call kind of people in action. This is how clubs can really change a community and change an organization. The first project right there on the top on the right is that playground. The Chattanooga Breakfast Club, a smaller club, has adopted a school in Chattanooga, Rivermont Elementary, Title I school. That the school just needed a little help. And every year they've done a grant with that club. One year they redid the library. One year they did the computer lab. They go in and help reading in the schools. Then they took on this huge program where they were going to build a handicap accessible playground. And if you've ever priced one of those out, there are hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they did a part for that every year with a district grant, and we're raising funds in the community, and they finished that project. But that club really made a difference. And they tell that story, and that's helping membership. You think about it, you tell the story of what you're doing, other people want to be part of it. The one on the far right is the backpack project. That's what I call it, food for kids on the weekends. Are you guys, I think you've participated in that before, haven't you? Are you participating in it now, or is another organization taking it over? A lot of clubs started it, and then other organizations have kind of taken it over. But the first time I read this grant application, I'd served on a lot of committees and Boys and Girls Club, and it just hit me when I read that there's kids going home on the weekends with no food. And as a parent, that just breaks your heart. You think about, well, how fortunate kids are in our own homes, and there's children going home on the weekends with no food. And I love this project because these children are chosen by the school system, and they discreetly put food in these backpacks and put it in their lockers. These children are taking this food home, and hopefully it's not too obvious that they're the poorest kids in school. But I love the project, and they say that the results have been wonderful. That the more children come, their admission is, I mean, their attendance rate is more positive because they know what they're going to get on Fridays for the weekend. That says a lot for that program. This picture on the bottom left is just right here from a recent trip. And Towns, I saw some of the pictures on Facebook, you and Bob, and your daughter, and all the music projects that you guys have been, programs that you did and with Orbit projects in Kenya. And see, these are stories that need to be told. If you tell people in your community what you're doing, and you tell them what it meant to you, they want part of that. People want to know what you're doing, and they want to be part of the organization that you're part of that's doing great things. It's one of the best membership tools that we need to be using more. And Rotarians often are not telling their story. They need to be telling their story. Last night, John Lay was with us at the evening Knoxville Club, just a very small group. And we had a chance to ask him about his trip. And Bill, you can vouch for this. He talked and talked. I believe we could give him the whole program.
Yeah.
He was so excited about the things that were going on in Orbit. If he just tells the people around him. I know Beth Stubbs and I were sitting there, and she looked at me, she says, we need to go on that trip. I said, we do. Towns has invited us, and we just need to go. And I think it's gonna be a wonderful time, and I want to commit to go to see those projects. Next slide. This last slide is, we hear so much about polio. There's so many of us. Okay, well, I'm doing good. I thought maybe it was time for one quick. Okay, so anyway, this was taken in 2009, and we hear so much about polio, and I know a lot of us are exhausted. We think, when is it gonna be over? But this was taken in 2009, and I mentioned Towns a time or two. She was on this trip with us, and we had a wonderful trip, Beth Stubbs, and several of us from this district. But in 2009, this was in India, and the population of India, if you've ever been there, is so tremendous, and the birth rate is just, sometimes I even go back and look at those figures on how many children are born there a month. It's just tremendous. When we were there, polio was still really active, and it was not India was not polio free, and they had not eradicated polio in India at that time. I would have never believed when they had that challenge that they were going to do it, that it would ever happen. Now, they still immunize the children to keep them from getting them, from not creeping up again. But I put this slide up there to say, if it can happen in India, I believe we can wipe it out in those other two countries. So let's keep that word out. Bill Gates said one time, he told Rotary, he said, we can raise money, and we want Rotarians to continue giving this money, but we need the awareness out there. We need Rotarians to continue helping us push this campaign. And I think that we need to continue saying things more and more and more and more about what's going on in the world with polio. I was at an Interact conference, and I said this last night, and a couple of the kids did not like the word that Fred Heitman was using when he used the word crawler. Some of those terms are really pretty tough when you hear about it, because what is a crawler? That's a person that has polio that is an outcast for their family. To a lot of families, they're a burden. They're cast on the streets, be beggars. And they can't walk, they crawl. And we saw those when we saw people like that in India. We went to the Rotary clinic for polio, and they're changing lives. We need to continue pumping money in our efforts and keeping that awareness out as long as we still have polio in our world. And I know we get tired of hearing that we're this close, but I think that we are getting a lot closer. Hopefully, we'll all get to celebrate that together. So I just want to end with what I've already said. We need to continue telling the good things that we're doing in our club. And that's what's going to help grow our membership. Everybody wants to be a part of something great. We've got a great product and we need to keep pushing it. We need to keep giving to the Rotary Foundation. You need to keep using the money and learn how to use it even better with partnerships. But keep doing what you're doing, and thank you so much for what you're doing in our district. This is a model club, but we can all still do things a little bit better. We want to continue growing. So thank you. If you got a question, I'll be glad to try to answer it. If not, well, I'll find somebody that can. So you have a question, anything that, yes.
Things come to mind, that's what you mentioned, is that we need to tell the story.
Yes.
So we tell our stories, but we tell it to our own. We don't know. So imagine.
It just happens to be right there.
For something else, yeah. So the story we tell is to our own people.
Right.
We need to have someone, if there's anybody in the media here, to do like a Rotary moment on the media, because we need people outside the Rotary. And that would help us not only by letting people know what we do, but also maybe get members. They get excited by the projects that we're doing. The other thing is that, we keep hearing about how, the government is closing projects and not doing aids. But Rotary is doing that, so that's another thing that we need to make sure that people are aware of, that even though there are things that are getting cut by the government spendings, but Rotary is an international organization and is doing that. So what is your recommendation? How do we go about doing both of these things?
Well, the first thing I think that, how can we promote Rotary in our own communities? You know, I know that there's still a place for us in printed media. I know that because you still have an active newspaper like we have in Chattanooga and Cleveland. But I think that we need to keep pushing it out there. And a lot of times we don't want to have to sit down and have to write the articles. You know, Rotary has some really good things that they can send you to promote the Rotary and the communities. But we also have a great public image committee on the district level. And a few years ago, we started really trying to build that up. So that might be another idea that we need to put together some different articles. I would love to see, it maybe has already happened, but like, you know, with the situation with John Lay's son going over and doing this and the experience of a younger person in orbit, I would love to see, you know, that would be a really nice article about people in your community doing something broad. And I don't know the true answer to that, but I think it's the connections that we have in our community. But Rotary does have some avenues, and we need to take advantage of those. And we're going to promote those different things in our district, and maybe can help us a little bit. So I hope that answers that a little bit.
David, I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned surveying your members.
Yes.
And I can think of a host of things we could survey about. What do you do at your club?
We do a Google survey, and I know I probably butchered that up because I don't know exactly the right term. I can show it to you. But what we do every Tuesday after our meeting, we were having a lot of complaints that our programs were, maybe we had too many nonprofits, maybe they weren't interesting enough, maybe other people wanted to hear a different topic. So we decided to start surveying our members. So every minute you get back after our meeting, you get a survey. Fill it out online. It has some really general questions. Were you present today or were you watching it on Zoom? Did you like the project? I mean, the topic? Do you have a better suggestion? Would you like to give us some ideas of some future projects? Can we contact you if you have a suggestion? I mean, there's about 6 or 8 questions. And we've had some really good projects that have come from that survey. Most of the time, you know, we started out and we have 150 some odd members and we were only getting 15 or 20 the first few weeks, but the more that we've been doing it, we're still getting probably maybe a little over a third or maybe half of the people that are responding. But you think about how many members you have versus how many people are at the club meeting. So that maybe is kind of in line with, you know, the percentage. But, and you know, we've asked a few other questions on that and, few other topics and people do, answer it pretty honest and we don't publicize it. We keep it to 1 or 2 people in the committee to take those suggestions. So when you put your name on it, now if we have something that we're trying to promote or ask questions that we think it's a little controversial, we don't ask for your name. But for all the other questions, we ask you to put your name on it so we can contact you back. But we're just trying that and it seems to be working. And, you know, I think we're gonna continue doing that with socials. You know, do you like the kind of socials that we're doing right now? Is it what your family wants to do? So I think it's just giving everybody in our club a voice. And everybody likes to have a suggestion. And a lot of people just want to be heard and say what they think. So I think that's one thing that Jim promotes in peace is just everybody having a chance to talk and give everybody a voice. It's all about conversation.
David.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
That
Shannon.
was excellent.